Welcome to our continuing YouTube video series on restaurant businesses and the law. My name's Christopher Neufeld of Neufeld Legal. And in this particular YouTube video, we are going to be discussing the importance of due diligence checklists in restaurant and bar acquisitions. Now, in my professional estimation, based on having been engaged in such a great number of restaurant and bar acquisitions, the performance of the work behind the due diligence checklist and the investigation that should be going into such due diligence is severely lacking when people are purchasing restaurants and bars. And part of the rationale might be that they think that they should be deferring to their professionals, the lawyers, and then they see how much work is involved, such that in many respects, this kind of work really needs to be undertaken by the purchaser because they are the ones who are going to commit such a large amount towards the business, both in the acquisition price, which can range from $500,000 to several $1,000,000, and then from the commitment going forward to manage and operate the business and to continue to put into it, such that if they're not doing their due diligence at the outset, it is very problematic for them. And that is where the issues do arise because they fail to undertake due diligence. Yes, consult with your professionals. We will even provide you with information as to how to acquire our due diligence checklist, which we are willing to share with you. But it ultimately comes down to the purchaser to take the initiative, do the work, and as they're going through the process, when they come into roadblocks, when the information is in hand and they don't understand it or they need clarification as to it, that's when they engage their professionals, whether it's accounting professionals, consultants, or lawyers. But they need to be pursuing this. And this is where I see such a major deficiency in the business sphere of acquisitions. A pure and simple failure to undertake due diligence, undertake to get the materials necessary, and to provide the materials possibly to the appropriate professionals so they understand it. Because oftentimes, when you ask for materials and those materials are not being provided, it's a red flag. It's a point of consideration. Why do these materials not exist? Why is this a concern for yourself? Why can't they provide it to you? Are they trying to hide something? Have they been operating inefficiently? Are the numbers that they're providing to you not real numbers? What's the concern? Is there an issue with the contract? When are these contracts being due? What are the exit terms? What happens when they're not? There's an issue there, whether it's suppliers, it's employees, it's contractors, a range of issues. That is why you need to take the initiative yourself and then work with your professionals, but you have to take the initiative to go through your due diligence checklist and do the required investigation. And that begins with your agreements, your financial statements that you obtain from the target business. You need to go through, find out what the accounting policies are, tax returns, what kind of audit work was done, if any, what kind of contracts exist, what kind of transactions are being taken on a daily basis, what's being invoiced, what legal agreements are in place? Are there licensing agreements? Are there franchising agreements? Is there a lease agreement for the property? Is there a financing agreement? Employees, do employees have agreements? These are the kinds of questions you need to be looking at, and you need to be getting materials, and you need to diligently say, if there's an absence of those materials, why are those materials not available to yourself? What kind of debts are outstanding? What kind of liabilities are outstanding? What kind of legal action might be brought against the company or the business that you're undertaking? What kind of injuries have occurred in the last while? Who has been let go? You need to be acquiring this information. You need to have a commitment from the seller to provide you this information. If there is none, you need to get that put down in writing. You need to have that stated and made part of your purchase agreement. When sellers don't want to divulge information, where they don't want to commit to certain aspects of information, that is an enormous red flag, and you have to take that into account. How do you deal with it? How do you protect yourself? If they can't provide you with tax information, what is the issue there? You don't want to be coming into something and paying for things twice. You don't want to be paying their debtors and they abscond. It is a very, very bad situation not to tackle due diligence properly and at the outset. It's something that you can do personally without spending lots of money on professionals necessarily, to start collecting and getting a sense of where everything is going. Yes, you can bring in professionals, and it's smart to do so. But until such time as you start to make inroads into getting and collecting that materials, you need to be taking personal responsibility on that, because that is the way to control your exposure to the business not being what it is. And you can walk away earlier from the transaction than waiting too long and possibly finding down the road, when you've spent months trying to do it and you feel overcommitted to something, that there are issues, that there's not enough information. You want to be starting to request that information early in the process. You want to know what your commitments are going forward. You want to know what your concerns are going forward. And if you don't address those aspects early on, you're going to be in a world of trouble. You're going to be spending more money on closing the deal, and you're not necessarily going to be getting the deal that you're hoping to attain. So you really have to put a lot of emphasis onto due diligence, onto the investigation, take personal responsibility for it, and put in the time. You want to put in the time. This is the time where your time is going to determine whether or not you put in the significant money and significant future commitment into acquiring that particular restaurant or bar. And you should not be doing that if the due diligence does not prove out as it should. Because once you collect all this materials, and provided that you get all the materials, then you will be able to go forward. You'll be able to consult with your professionals, including your lawyers, to say, I've got all this materials. Something seems awry. What should I do about this? Should I utilize this to negotiate different aspects? Or they'll identify it in the contract, in the purchase price. What do I need to do? How do I protect myself? How do I engage with the employees going forward, given these fact patterns? How do I deal with suppliers? How do I deal with landlords? It's going to also make your professional costs better controlled, because you're going to know what needs to be tackled. Or at least your professional advisors, your lawyers, your accountants, your consultants will be able to advise you as to those aspects. As such, make your due diligence checklist and the investigation you do a priority when you're looking to acquire a restaurant or bar. You can visit us at our website, restaurantlawyer.ca, or our main website, neufeldlegal.com, and find our email address, request a due diligence checklist. We will be sure as heck happy to provide you with one that we have for yourself. And then you can work off of that, even if you don't retain legal counsel. But as always, we strongly suggest retaining legal counsel when doing this stuff. But at the same time, taking the initiative, taking responsibility for doing your due diligence investigation before you acquire any restaurant or bar, because it's going to be well worth the time and effort you expend. Thank you, and we look forward to speaking with you again.